Welcome back, everybody, to the Built for Anything audio podcast. And before I get into it, I just want to say thank you to any of the new subscribers to the podcast. I'm going to tell you guys just a little bit about myself. I'm your host. My name is Hertz. I'm an avid sports fan. I'm a Lakers fan, Giants fan. I just love sports. But this is not going to be your typical podcast. And it's not going to be ESPN or Fox Sports 1 or any of the other sports stations that you see on TV. See, I don't just get on here and just start talking about stats and numbers. I talk about the narrative. I talk about what goes on underneath and how we can use sports to create lessons that I believe everybody can learn from. And so that's what you get from this. We have fun. I have plans on interviewing and bringing in a couple close people to me who are also passionate about sports. And so I'm coming to you live from Dallas, Texas, and I'm ready to get into this show. So thank you once again. Let's get right into it. Okay. So if you listen to my last podcast, I talked about, Lavar Ball. I talked about Lonzo Ball, and I talked about what Marcin Gortat made a comment that John Wall would torture Lonzo Ball for 48 minutes. Now, today is Tuesday, the 24th of October. The Lakers face the Wizards tomorrow. And trust me, everybody's going to be watching. And, I talked about, a lot of these players having daddy issues. And so today I saw some comments from Scott Brooks. Now, Scott Brooks is the coach of the Washington Wizards. And he made a comment, and I'm going to read this out to you. He said, "My father left me at 2. I would have loved to have my father around like Lavar is around and talk to him and pump me up with confidence." He also continues and says, "To me, that's every son's dream. And for some reason, he gets criticized." This is Scott Brooks commenting on Lavar Ball, which is very similar to what I was expressing in my last podcast. I think a lot of people overlook what he's doing, and it's one thing to not like it. It's another thing to criticize him as a parent when, once again, I feel as a parent, it is your job to instill the confidence in your children, because don't expect them to get that confidence booster from their coaches or their peers. You have to develop your own kids, and you should want them to want to be the best. And so if every player is going to want to come at Lonzo hard because of what his father said, you're only going to make him better. It's only going to take you out of your game. And, here's what I feel John Wall should have said, because he also, made a comment stating that, he can't wait to face him and introduce him to the league. And you had what Patrick Beverley did and said the other game. These guys are veteran players. Why not approach it and say, hey, I don't care what his father says. His father isn't playing the game. I'm playing against his son, and I'm going to do what I need to do in order for my team to win. You're not going to hear that from these guys, because a lot of these players, like I said, they're all about the money. They don't really care about winning. They care about stats, because the stats will get them to all-star games and other awards that will lead to them making more money. Keep in mind, I'll give you an example. Paul George, it was stipulated in his contract that if he made all NBA first team, that he would get an extra incentive on his contract, which he did not make it. And so don't think these guys, are approaching the game with just wanting to win by stuffing these stats. A lot of these guys know that they're probably not going to compete for a championship, and therefore they're just there to get their money. And so a reporter asked Lonzo Ball, what does he think about the comments from, John Wall and Gortat? And they also asked him about Ben Simmons, which I also talked about Ben Simmons in my last podcast and said that, he's very talented. He's limited in some areas. I find it hard to believe that he took a year off and didn't improve his shot. But maybe that'll come. I don't know. But they asked Lonzo about Ben Simmons getting a triple-double and him being, so young and getting a triple-double in his second game. When, like I mentioned, it took guys like LeBron James a year and a half just to do that. And you know what his response was? He said, Ben Simmons is, very talented. He has a great upside. He has size. He looks to pass the ball. He said he also got the W. So great for him. I personally don't care about a triple double. I just want the W. This kid is 19. I repeat, 19 years old. You have players in the league who are 32, 35 and older, and all they talk about is the stats. Last postseason, you had the Wizards getting eliminated. I'm sorry, not the Wizards, even though they did get eliminated. I meant to say OKC. You had OKC, who was eliminated by the Houston Rockets. And I never forget, in that elimination game, you had Russell Westbrook was being interviewed because he got into it with Patrick Beverley. And they asked him about it. And his comment was, well, he didn't shut me down. I had a triple-double. And in my head, I'm saying, but you lost. You're going home. He's going on to the next round. So a lot of these guys have their priorities just all mixed up. You have fans of LeBron who, they're on SportsCenter. For example, you have your Shannon Sharps, and all they talk about and all they try to salvage from his team only winning one game and getting a gentleman's sweep at the hands of the Warriors is, he averaged a triple-double. Who cares? You lost. For all you know, the game plan from the other team is to allow you to get yours so they can shut everybody else down, and you playing right into it. And so this game is becoming so much more about the stats that it's just clouding what it is to win. And so I just found that to be some great maturity from Lonzo. And like I said, he continues to say the things that I look at and I just sit back and say, yes. Why isn't other guys saying this? And so, back to Scott Brooks, for him to make those comments, again, goes to show you, most people are really upset with Lavar, either because they didn't have that in their life and they want that, or they just don't like the fact that he's going about it his own way, because he is, paving his own way. And there's something to be said about that. There's very few times in any industry, any profession, where somebody prefers to debunk the system. I think you need people like that to come across every now and then, every couple of years, to shake things up, rather than everybody else just following the status quo. And you have the mass media who's upset about that, because they don't want to see that. And, as far as him being a father, him being criticized, I watched the Ball show on Facebook. And I remember that first 2 episodes, and it was about the fact that his wife had a stroke and he chose to take care of her. He took the responsibility to help her with her speech. Him and her parents. And I look at that and I say, this man loves his wife. This man loves his kids. His kids ain't out here doing anything wrong. And so I understand that everything got to have a villain. And I'm cool with that. There's players, I think, it's all about sports and entertainment. You got to have the good guy and the bad guy, the person you root for, the person you don't. But don't make it about somebody's character when you don't know. And don't base it on what the media's orchestrated. And so, I challenged a lot of people to go and watch that show to see how he really is. And so I hear some people, mention that, he should cut the cord, let Lonzo be his own man. And people questioning whether Lonzo like his dad. Let me tell you something. It doesn't matter if he likes him. That's his father. When it comes to your parents, you're to honor them. They brought you into this world. You respect them. But it's not about the cord being cut. If anything, the cord is just extended further. They want to see you do good from afar. But your parent, if they care about you, is always going to make a suggestion, give you their input. You make the final decision as an adult. Lonzo's 19 years old. Of course he still goes to his father for advice. He's supposed to. That's the man that brought him up. I don't care if he's 32, 40 years old. Nobody is going to have your best interests at heart than the people that brought you into this world. Obviously, you have bad parents out there, so it doesn't go for everybody. But for as long as they're around, you should lean on them for advice. And so I think, when I look at what's happening with the media and the things that they say, it's almost like they want to divide the home. Like the man shouldn't have a presence in there, because these are the things that you're supposed to do as a man when you're raising a man. And of course, he's an adult now, but that's still his father. And when they ask him about him, he does the right thing. He doesn't challenge his father in public. And you know what? For all you know, he may have conversations with him behind the scenes. But hey, Dad, maybe you should say this or shouldn't say that. He says he doesn't. I'll take his word for it. But at the end of the day, whose business is it if he does? I'm fortunate enough. I have both parents in my life. There are things that I've disagreed with them on. But I'm not going to run around and act like, I need to bring them down or talk bad about them because they may see things differently from me. That shouldn't be how it goes. And so I just think it's almost asinine and crazy that people make these suggestions. And I hear it over and over. Hey, do you think maybe you ask your dad to maybe ease up a bit? And he says, hey, I've been dealing with this my whole life. It doesn't bother me. So why keep asking that question? I even seen one report where, maybe he should have publicly said, hey, I don't agree with everything my dad says, but I can't control him and yada, yada. No, that is not what you do. That is not what you do, especially if your parents were influential in you being where you are. See, we've gotten so liberal and so disrespectful that we're even encouraging people to be disrespectful towards people who care for them. Like, that's the norm. Everybody wants to be a rebel. Go your own way, try to fight everything, fight the system. It's not cool. It's really not cool to suggest things like that. That man doesn't deserve that. But you know what? Hey, Lavar knows what he's doing. You have people like the Kardashians who just signed a 5-year deal for over $100 million. A lot of people claim that they can't stand the Kardashians, but yet these guys have had over 17 spin-off shows. And so obviously you care enough about them to keep giving them ratings. And so Lavar, and just like, for example, Floyd Mayweather Jr., he even realizes that people are more passionate about hating you than they do about loving you. Because if you did everything right, they would simply wait for you to do something wrong in order to watch a train wreck. And so what he realizes, whether you root for me or not, you're going to pay to see me. And he just found out that the people who want to see you lose are willing to pay more to see you lose than the people are to see you win. And so Lavar's already figured out that, hey, all of this attention is only helping his son. I feel like, I was this close to considering getting the NBA League Pass, and I'm a Lakers fan. And I said, why? Damn near any major game is going to be televised because of everything that's surrounding that franchise right now. The Lonzo Ball situation, Magic Johnson. You even have the fact that the Dodgers in the World Series is great for LA, in which Magic has ownership in. So I laugh when people, try to pretend like, they're failing as a franchise. Clearly you don't understand business. Because all these players that can't wait to play him, a lot of them can't wait to play him because they want to be part of the story. Because they really have nothing going on where they're at. You got players like, Bledsoe saying that he wants to get the hell away from the Phoenix Suns. Which I don't blame him. And that's Eric Bledsoe that I'm referring to. Because they benched him last year. They purposely tanked. They have no sense of direction. They can't draft well. They can't attract any free agents. He wants the hell up out of there. I don't blame him. And it's across the board. You got Martavis Bryant of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He wants the hell out of the Steelers, albeit for selfish reasons. But hey, all these players have some sort of selfish reasons. It's a business at the end of the day. Which, speaking of it being a business, I want to talk about Boogie Cousins, Demarcus Cousins, former player of the Sacramento Kings. He is now a member of the New Orleans Pelicans as of last year's All-Star game, which was pretty hilarious how that happened. You kept hearing Demarcus Cousins' name in trades, and every single time it was, Sacramento ownership was pretending like he wasn't available, he's untouchable, and he bought all into the system. And what did they do? He ended up finding out he was being traded to the team where he played at the All-Star game during an interview from his agent. It was just hilarious. He's there, he's talking about, the game and him going back to Sacramento and, finishing the second half of the season. And his agent comes up to him and he's like, what? He has this shocked look on his face. Like, really? Wow. And he was traded. And so he made a comment because on Thursday, it's going to be the first time that since the trade that he's going back to face the Sacramento Kings. And he made a statement and he said, I was a fool for staying with the Kings for so long. And he was trying to be loyal. Listen, this is a business. It ain't about being loyal. I had a conversation with my cousin earlier today. We were talking about guys being traded and going from one team to the next. And I said to him, it's easy for you to say and to judge these guys. But I said, how would you like it if you walked into your job and you found out that you got traded? You work in Brooklyn, but all of a sudden they just traded you to Manhattan or, another state. Now you got to pick up, grab your family and go over there. No explanation, no nothing. All for what they feel is good for business, not good for you. But the one opportunity that you get every, 5 years, 8 years, where you can decide whether you want to play somewhere else for once, you're supposed to stay loyal. And I'll tell any of these players, man, damn all that. I'm one of those people. I don't got a problem with Kevin Durant going to Golden State. Some people saying, well, he could have went somewhere else. Why didn't he go to the Wizards? Why didn't he go here? Why didn't he go there? He did what he wanted to do, what he felt was best for his life and his career. The same way you do what is best for you in your career and your life. How silly is it that we're supposed to tell someone where they should want to play and live for the next 3-4 years? Who does that? Especially when you fulfilled your obligations to the team that you were playing with for the last 6 years or so. I don't care listen, if there's a team out there that wants you to be on their team and they have a great chance of winning a championship, whether you have a championship or not, you go and you play for them. Especially if it's in an area that you particularly like the Bay Area. In the same way LeBron went to Miami, because let me tell you something, Miami compared to Cleveland, no offense Cleveland, but come on now. South Beach, come on now. Let's keep it real. And so players should be able to do what they want to do, within their rights to do what they want to do. And so, I'm not going to be shocked if DeMarcus is traded again. I think he's someone who, his maturity comes into question. Everyone keeps saying he should be around some veteran leadership, which I agree. But he's someone who's passionate about the game. But again, he lacks some immaturity, and that's the reason why he's not going to have a lot of chances to have his own destiny in his hands, because teams will always look at him as almost like a gun for hire. bring him on your team. You see how it goes. If he becomes a cancer, they'll just keep throwing him around. And this is a guy who is arguably at one time considered the best big man in the game. And so, I'm rooting for him. I like Demarcus Cousins. But, this is an important moment for him to understand that, listen, when you have an opportunity to go where you want to go, if you're not happy where you are, stop thinking that teams will move mountains for you to make you happy. Okay, especially organizations who have no history of winning. Okay, you're better off somewhere where there is some sort of structure. And so that's all I got to say about that. I'll be keeping an eye on that game. They should win, but we'll see. Now, one last thing I want to talk about is Colin Kaepernick. Colin Kaepernick reportedly has inked a deal for a book deal for $1 million. And let me tell you something. For a guy who hasn't said much over the course of 16, 18 months or so, and you're supposed to be quote unquote leading this movement, and you haven't participated in really anything publicly in moving forward with your stance, but yet you choose to come out with a book that you can then sell. Let me tell you something. There's no doubt in my mind that he had no ambition on playing football. He was really salty about the fact that he lost his position to Blaine Gabbert. And he wanted out of the 49ers. He opted out of his contract. He thought he would have got picked up somewhere else. He got on one knee just to irritate them and kind of force their hand. And yet, here he is trying to make money off of this situation. And listen, his handlers, and what I mean by handlers is that you have people, part of organizations, who will use these situations to further their own agenda. And so there's no doubt in my mind that he was being taken care of financially throughout all of this, even though he hasn't come out and really said anything. So for him to come out with this book, to me, just reeks of it being just disingenuous. And so, of course, I'm probably going to get a lot of slack for saying that, but it is what it is. That's what I believe. I've said from the very beginning that I'm not saying that there isn't injustices and things that go on. What I'm saying is it's about time that we focus on the solution instead of trying to beg people to sit down and have a conversation with us. If you want changes to happen, make it happen. Understand how the system works and start working from the inside out. I've said this repeatedly on my podcast and to anybody who's willing to have a conversation. You have to have an end game. When you're protesting and people are saying, okay, you have my attention, what do you want to talk about? And all you want to do is keep protesting, you're not going to get anywhere. You have to come up with a plan. Every protest has to have a plan of action, a starting point. Your starting point of it being equality is nonsense. There's nothing equal here. And again, this is just how I see it. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Okay? I'm not equal to you. You're not equal to her or him. If that's the case, we all would get equal pay, which we don't. You think you're more valuable to your company than your boss who is getting paid more than you? Or your coworker who's getting paid more than you? In their eyes, no. Are you equal then? You could have the same degrees as the next person and not make anywhere near as much as that person. That's just the way this world works. You think the athlete is going to be treated the same way that I'm going to be treated? The celebrity's going to be treated the same way I'm going to be treated? If you believe that, try to get into one of these high-profile clubs and see how quickly you'll be waiting at the door while these celebrities or rappers or ball players just walk right in past you. It's nothing equal. It's not about equality. It's about our people doing what is best for our people. Okay? And that starts with educating, because knowledge is power. Knowing your history, developing a culture. Focus on that. The same way other cultures have done. When they don't like something, they said to hell with it, and they created their own. I.e. Jews, i.e. Asians, were the most, affluent households on the world. And so that's a deeper topic for a different day. But to follow up those comments, another silly thing I heard was Michael Bennett. He got up there and said, before we can talk about anything, Colin Kaepernick should have a job. What? So you making personnel decisions now? You don't think there's other football players who feel like they should have an opportunity? And so, what is this really about? I ask you this. I've been in situations where, people I liked at the job may have gotten fired for what they felt was the wrong reasons. You think I had the ability to go to my boss and say, hey, you need to hire that person back, or I'm not coming to work tomorrow? Raise your hands if you vouched for your previous coworker or anyone who's gotten fired from a job or chose to leave a job and wants to come back, and you say, hey, you need to hire this person or I'm not going to do what I need to do. How far will that get you? I'll answer that. That'll get you on the unemployment line. That's where that'll get you. And so it's just, it's all about the end game. And if there's supposed to be a bigger picture to this, that gets lost with all the attention and people wanting to be, these revolutionaries. Everybody wants to be Muhammad Ali. And people got to understand, a lot of people didn't like Muhammad Ali until he wasn't able to talk. That's really when they started to praise him, when he was no longer a threat. And the one thing about Muhammad Ali is that he believed in having some sort of a culture, which is why he was part of Islam, is because he wanted to be a part of something that he felt was a brotherhood and had some sense of culture in terms of how, one brother should treat the other, how a man should treat his wife, how a wife should treat a man. There were guidelines there, and he wanted to be a part of that, which is why a lot of people become Muslims, or join certain, I don't want to say organizations, but, just cultures like that. Because outside of that, there is none. Everybody's just doing whatever they want to do. But I digress. I'm going to stop right here. Guys, thank you for listening. I'll catch you on the next episode. Again, you can catch this podcast, the Built for Anything podcast, on iTunes, Google Play, and Podbean. Subscribe. Welcome to the family. Also, please feel free to leave comments. If you like what I said, leave comments. If you don't like it, leave comments as well. All right. You can also find me on YouTube, Built for Anything. And that's it for me, y'all. I'm out. Catch you on the next episode. You guys be great.